All right, so the House is in chaos right now. We're going to be breaking down what is happening in the House and how this affects a lot of what's happening in crypto, including a lot of legislation that has been waiting in the wings for the House to basically get their stuff in order. We're going to break it all down for you guys today and the impact on crypto. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into TechPath. Before we get started, I want to thank our sponsor, and that is iTrust Capital. If you guys are looking at long-term holding, and we are getting in toward tax planning, so this is another advantage you can do with crypto IRAs. Of course, you can use iTrust Capital as one of your sources out there. Buy, sell crypto, gold, and silver, all within your IRA account. And of course, the cool thing around an IRA is you can trade within the IRA, no tax events. Always seek advice from your tax advisors. But there is no fees on a monthly basis. You're only paying for any kind of trades that you're doing inside. If you guys do want to sign up, all you have to do is click our link down below. You're going to get a $100 funding reward when you choose to go that route. All right, let's talk about what's going on in the House right now. So just an update on Jim Jordan, who is failing currently as we air this to win the House speakership. And this is a pretty big issue because there's a couple things that this affects. One, of course, is going to be the legislative component that really addresses a lot of the things that are happening. I'll break down some of the bills that this will address in a minute. The other thing that this is going to play into is how does the House, well, how does Congress in general deal with what's happening globally? Because you know and understand there's probably going to be some bills for financial aid to a lot of these continued wars that we continue to face here. From the CNN site, they kind of break down a few things here I want to showcase on. So this is the Jordan Alley, much worse than we expected. This is in reference to the vote not necessarily coming together. Now, I want you to notice there are a handful of people here. There's Warren Davidson, and then, of course, right there is Tom Emmer, all kind of like, what's going on here? Why are we not being able to slam dunk this? The other thing that was pointed into this, I just want to highlight a couple more points right here, and that is 20 Republicans appear to have voted against Jordan, and they can only afford to lose 3 GOP votes. So this is going to be a challenge for Jim Jordan. Does he step away? Now, understand that Jim Jordan's position is not necessarily a crypto, sympathizer, so to speak. If you go over and look at Coinbase's legislative portal, it breaks down what these politicians are doing in terms. And right now, Jim Jordan is unclear around crypto sentiment versus some of the others that you guys probably have begun to love here. And that, of course, is people like Patrick McHenry, Warren Davidson, Tom Emmer, all those who are very pro crypto in general. The question is what will this do to a lot of the regulation that is right there, literally waiting in the wings for the House to get moving on? And these were some of the bills and action that is moving. Of course, the Financial Privacy Act was agreed to. That is, of course, going to go to the House for a vote. Others that made it in but did not necessarily get considered, but the CBDC Anti-Surveillance State Act was agreed to. That's going to the House. And then a handful of others. Also within this one is this one right here. Let me kind of zoom in on this for you guys. This is the Blockchain Regulatory Certainty Act. They agreed to that one as well. And then further up right here was, of course, the FIT Act. This is the one that is the Markets Act. And that's the one we've had a chance to talk with Ron Hammond of the Blockchain Association about. Point being is you've got the stablecoin bill and you've got the crypto bill, both of which are being affected right now because of what is happening on the House floor, literally as we're recording this. And the question will be, does Jordan maybe step aside? There's a lot of variation here as to who could be playing into this. One point that I want to make, and that is right here, this tweet from Ron Hammond. This could push bills like stablecoin to vote in November or even December. These major events will also dovetail into the 24 election cycle. This is a problem because it could push everything back into 24. Presidential elections are hard to pass anything meaningful in Congress as everyone is focused on winning. So time is very short on being able to get these through, at least through the House and possibly a slam dunk through the Senate. Now, all this does also have a lot of bearing, I think, with what's happening at the SEC. And right now, time is very much of the essence. So what's happening today is pretty critical. That's why I think you see a tremendous amount of concern on those faces there from the GOP members. All right, just another tweet just to be aware of things that also could affect just how rulemaking is done. This is a proposal that is really going after DeFi in general. And this was, a site that kind of was referencing the whole idea around the proposal from the IRS as a proposed broker rulemaking for DeFi. So these are things that are going to continue to pile up. And obviously lawmakers and lawmaker leadership is very critical going forward. So it's going to be one of those things for sure. Hopefully we'll see Mr. Gensler carried out here in 961 days, or maybe faster, based on some of the things that have been happening here recently. And of course, now with the fake Bitcoin ETF pump, I don't know, that may give him some ammunition. All right, so if you guys are new to the channel, make sure and jump over to the channel and get into the playlist, because this will give you a much more awareness around what's happening in DC right now. And of course, just go to the U.S. Crypto Regulation Hearing playlist. You'll get a chance to see all of those, including some of our interviews from insiders at Capitol Hill to our breakdowns of everything from Gary Gensler, anything that has been happening in DC related to crypto. Make sure and check that out. And while you're there, make sure and subscribe to the channel and click that little bell. You'll get notifications for live streams, all that good stuff. Another thing to be aware of right here is Mr. Tom Emmer, because Tom Emmer may get a shot at this. And it's an outside shot, but it's a shot. And of course, we all know Emmer, of course, very, very supportive of crypto. He's been on our channel before. We've talked about what kind of eventual position that's really puts the United States mainly around the innovation idea, because that's the thing about Emmer's position is he wants business to excel here in the US, and he thinks crypto and of course blockchain is a big part of that. When you look at odds checkers, there's a couple of players. Here's the Speaker of the House odds. There was Scalise. He of course withdrew. Kevin Hearn may not necessarily be a player. Jim Jordan, he may withdraw at this point. And then you have Elise Stefanik, Patrick McHenry, and Tom Emmer also coming in at 7% implied chance. Maybe that changes dramatically now that we saw what we've seen with Mr. Jordan, in the sense that there wasn't a lot of support for that. So very interesting times right now. Further into these odds, this comes from DraftKings, and this shows Jim Jordan, had a little bit of an odds there, but you also had Tom Emmer, Patrick Henry, and of course Kevin Hearn there. And the interesting thing here was that Emmer was holding that one of the top three. So again, just a very interesting time around how we get into regulation, because that's really the key. If we don't get this done in the next essentially 90 days, we are really in for a time coming up past the end of the year. And I think that's the problem that we're going to be facing for sure. All right, what else do we have? All right, so we've got WAPO. I want to kind of catch up with them a little bit. They were talking more in detail of what was happening there within the vote. Listen into this clip right here.
Moves here.
I think that this recess will tell us all we need to know about where the Republican caucus is right now. If this is a short recess, then, they may feel like they can bring this up again. If this is a prolonged recess and then we go into an adjournment for the day, then that means they know that they do not have a consensus candidate in Jim Jordan right now. So I am waiting to see and hear when the chair may bring this back up. But from the looks of it, looking at the House floor, everyone has sort of exited. I'm in the Cannon Rotunda, and I believe some members are coming through here right now. So it's believed that this might be a long break. But of course, we don't know that. I think one of the things that's important to think about as the Republican caucus tries to figure out what's next to do is also think about how the moderates, how the defense hawks in GOP caucus feel about Jim Jordan. It's not just one issue that some of the people who did not support him had. It's multiple issues. Back during the Kevin McCarthy speakership vote, a lot of what we heard up here was that they just didn't really trust him. It was just sort of a blanket statement for how the caucus felt about him. But this time around, we're hearing some very specific concerns from some of the hardliners who are not for Jordan. That is how he stands on appropriations, how he might do in a negotiation with the Senate when it comes down to the government funding next month, how he has felt about Ukraine. He has said that he wants to stop funding there. That's an issue for some folks on the national security front, as well as the defense hawks in the chamber. So there are.
All right, so I'm gonna pause it there. But the point being, a couple things there within this is that they may have realized that the support is not there. And she kind of mentioned the scenario that might play out, and that is if they take a longer recess, yes, that means they're probably trying to regroup the wagons and come back in and say, all right, Maybe we need to reposition this. This could slow things down, maybe even through the end of the week. But the concern I have right now, and I think this is one that is of note, with timing around what's been happening in the Middle East, appropriations, especially around defense spending, is going to be a big factor. And of course, that's going to get sucked into all of this. And that's where Jordan usually has a bit of a rub, much like what they were talking about, his anti-Ukraine stance. So all of this plays in because it has an effect on the crypto and blockchain markets, because we cannot get these regulatory scenarios passed through. And these regulations are very, very significantly important on really the future of what we're going to be doing on an investment class. So lots happening right now. If you guys are not, of course, over and in our Diamond Circle, make sure and get into that as well. We do a ton of stuff over on our website. Just visit paulbaronnetwork.com. You can go into things like the market sentiment program, get into different areas. And of course, you're also going to catch a lot of our other content that is available in the Diamond Circle and not necessarily here on YouTube. So make sure and subscribe. Click the link down below. If you guys want to catch me out there on Twitter, it's @PaulBaron, or you can also catch me right here on TechBeth. We'll catch you next time.